how much more relief did you experience having sex with other guys as opposed to just jerking off? Because maybe I'm naive, but I would feel like as a straight dude, I would always be okay with just jerking off, and that I wouldn't necessarily need to go and use another man's booty to get the job done.
Okay, I'm gonna break you through something on that. It's a lot of people try to take that approach, but here's how I used to bust them out. Now we have triple X rated magazines in prison that people like, hey man, you want to rent that magazine out? So yeah, look through it. Not but hardcore sex in it. Now, well, you see penetration, cum shots and stuff like that. So I used to keep a stack of them, and you don't have to rent them out. You want to look at them? So after they done been looking at them, so I told dude one day, I said, look, I said, you like this one? He said, man, I love this one, boy. I said, did you get off? He said, yeah, I got off. I said, watching his dick in another man's dick in a woman, it gets you off? Mm. And he said, yeah. I said, so what about man? Oh, come on, nigga, you know we are. I said, hold up, bro. But what I realized through them Triple X magazines, that the tendency to have sex with men was already in them. Mm. They got the tendency already in them. When you leave the streets, your sex drive goes with you. However you was having sex out here, it don't freeze up on you when you get locked up. You still got that urge. It's more powerful now, you know. And then when you go through the thing, that'll work for a little while, but it gets old. And you in an environment now where you see men walking around that is built like women, and flaunting themselves too, making their ass pop, bending over in front of you, and you like, oh my God, my woman didn't have a butt like that. You know, and you mesmerized, and so I stopped caring about what people think. I said I want him, and I'll make my approach. Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?
I feel like you almost ended up like there's a whole conversation, you know, about trans men, women, etc. Is a trans woman really a woman, etc. But in your mind, you're locked up for decades, and it just becomes like, is a man that different than a woman? Like, for your purposes, it's not that different.
Man, to me, I never had a woman, so I didn't know the difference.
I can see how your mind would get there as the years drag on.
Yeah, but from where I look at it now, having had a woman, and then I think back to that time, I'm just be truthful. I ain't seen a woman out here yet that had pussy as good as some ass that I had in that penitentiary. Not yet. And I hate to say it, but man, I had some real good butts. Booty support is what we call it in our. Uh-huh. You know, like if me and you knew each other on the streets, and I've been locked up a while, then you come in, and yeah, I know your whole family and stuff. But when I sit down and talk to you, man, I'm saying, look, bro, you know, I've been locked up a while, man. And, you know, I need some booty support.
Right.
You know, tell you straight out, I'm looking for booty support. I ain't looking for no conversation and a whole lot of riff-raffs. I want booty. I gamble. The main thing I did in there is gamble, fight, and booty. And if I ain't gambling, I'm chasing butt. And I just didn't chase any butt. I chase the best that they got in there. I don't mess with no dirty people that don't take showers, don't stay clean. I got their medical record. I get everybody's medical record before I even socialize with them. You know, we can get that in the penitentiary. Get your medical files and stuff.
That's smart. That's just like the industry, really. Anyway, okay, so you do this interview for the news, and you just kind of put everything out there. You expose all this craziness that at that time nobody in pop culture really had any kind of reference for like what was going on in prison or whatever. It's not like it was something that they were just talking. Well, maybe it was on the news a little bit, but like very rarely was this stuff ever making it to the surface where people really knew about it. It comes out, and does it just start kind of making you famous right away? And what was that like?
Now, what happened was, after I did a documentary, I didn't think none of it. They said it's going to be to help the juveniles or something. I didn't know that somebody had a real hatred of me, right? From all the fighting and shit throwing and all that, making girls quit their job. That they done took it so personal where they going to fight me to the end. So they took, about 2 years later, a girl come to me and say, hey, Fleece, you all over TV. I said, what you mean? Oh, man, you ain't gonna like it. They said they made a cartoon out of you. I said, get out of here. Cause I ain't know nothing about it, right?
How many years after you did the interview was this?
It's about a year or two.
Okay.
And people was telling me that they made cartoons and boondocks. I never even heard of it.
Right.
And like in prison, your TV channels is programmed in. You can't get everything y'all watch out here in prison.
Right.
And so we can't get YouTube and all that. And so when the lady girl told me the contents and stuff, so I started getting mad. I said, all right. So they want me to look like a predator. I said, okay. So the fight's on. So we fighting again. So when I go up for parole, they tell me one day, you going up for parole. I done forgot about parole. I ain't never getting out. And I went in front of parole. I said, I'm gonna kill this right now because I got about 9 years left. I can do it. I went in there and I said, you know what, y'all. They said, excuse me? I said, you heard what I said? I said all that. Kiss my ass, your department. And I kicked the chair over. And I went back to my cell and laid in the bed. I cussed them out. So a lady come to my door the same day. Her name was Skylar Grief, and she became deputy warden. She said her exact words was, I quote, she said, you the first at what you do. So I said, what you mean? She said, I never seen nobody cuss them the way you did and still get parole. I said, parole? She said, yeah, they gave you parole. I said, when I go home? She said, tomorrow. So I wasn't even prepared for all that. I wasn't prepared for none of that. And I didn't realize that somebody done had a trap set for me. So when I get out on the street, every time I put in for a job, they say, man, you a hell of a worker, but you got some stuff on the internet saying you a predator, so we got to let you go. I lost about 40 jobs going through that. And then I went in the church, and the church told me I couldn't even be a member in the church because the internet said I was a predator. I got kids and all this. And that happened, man. And so I couldn't get jobs or nothing. And then I started working under the table and stuff like that. And but then that's when I eventually hit the internet and I told my story and I gave and I do you the same way. I would give you permission through my agent to get all my criminal records, my juvenile records, my medical records to every institution, jail or prison, detention I've been to, and let you see what you can see in her. Because I have never been charged with sexual anything, taking nothing from nobody, never a complaint ever been lodged against me. So when you take into account how I made parole, cussing people out, and that's unheard of that you can cuss them and still get parole, and then go home the next day, unheard of. Yeah, it was a setup from the beginning. So all that stuff they put over on the internet, they put me in a position where I can scream, that ain't true, this ain't true, that ain't true. And the more I scream at, people gonna say it is. So what I did, I said, okay.
Well, okay, so my friend...
But I did get a lot of booty.
Oh, Right, I believe that for sure. But okay, so I have a friend, DJ Vlad, and he's previously mentioned that at one point he was going to interview you. He wanted to interview you, but then he basically had a realization that he didn't want to be platforming someone that he considered a. And you're basically saying that that is not an accurate description of what you were doing in there.
Right. It's not. And Vlad knows. Vlad knows he didn't have no proof, evidence, or nothing that I ever did none of that. Only thing they went on was when I did my interview and said booty is more important than water in the internet. Took it and edited stuff, and I had one person show me a picture of me. He said, "Man, you were swole." I said, "That's not even my body." They took my head and put it on some muscle man body and said, "Yeah, I take booty and all this stuff." And so, but I can assure you, no, I don't take it. That's crazy.
If you haven't checked out Everything 420 yet, you are definitely missing out. From glass gear to infused sweets, they've got one of the best lineups online. They ship fast, it's always discreet, and their app makes shopping too easy. The deals are always running, and you can use code NOJUMPER for a little bonus at checkout. Shout out Everything 420.